If you've been doing everything they tell you, cutting calories, working out, eating healthy, and still can't lose weight fast, slim down, or eliminate abdominal fat, then what I'm about to reveal may completely flip your beliefs about weight loss and fat burning. Because the truth is this: most people aren't overweight because they eat too much, but because their cells stopped listening to insulin, trapping them in a cycle where no diet, no fitness routine, and no willpower seems to work. And if that sounds like your life, you're in the right place. In today's video, I'll show you exactly how I transformed my body, my energy, and my metabolism by reversing something my own doctor told me was normal. Inside the next few minutes, you'll learn the 12 steps I use to completely eliminate insulin resistance fast, and why fixing this one hidden problem can finally unlock real slimming, lasting weight loss, and the ability to lose belly fat without feeling deprived, exhausted, or mentally drained. These steps don't require extreme dieting, suffering, or impossible routines. Just smart, strategic changes that create powerful metabolic results. If you stay until the end, you'll understand why your past attempts failed, how to boost metabolism naturally, and what to change today to finally enter a state where fat burning becomes your body's default mode. Making it easier to lose weight healthily while improving focus, mood, and long-term well-being. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, this might be the turning point you've been searching for. For years, I woke up wondering why my body felt like it was working against me, even when my intentions were aligned with every so-called healthy habit I thought was right. And if you've ever followed strict diets, repeated fitness plans, or jumped between weight loss tips only to watch your progress stall or reverse, you might recognize that same frustration. What I didn't realize back then was that every struggle, every failed attempt at slimming, every stubborn pocket of abdominal fat, every afternoon crash, wasn't a discipline problem or a lack of effort. It was a deeper metabolic issue silently shaping every outcome. And once I understood that, everything changed. I began to see that my inability to lose weight fast had nothing to do with motivation and everything to do with how my cells responded to insulin, a hormone at the core of belly fat accumulation and slow metabolism. It wasn't just about food, it was about how my body processed food. This realization was the doorway to reversing years of confusion and discovering a path that finally aligned with the biology of weight loss rather than the myth surrounding it. As I started connecting the dots between my symptoms, constant cravings, unpredictable hunger, low energy, the emotional drag of feeling like nothing worked, I realized that what people often label as failure is usually a sign of metabolic miscommunication. When your cells stop responding to insulin properly, your body locks itself into fat storage mode, making fat burning nearly impossible no matter how many healthy meal plans you follow. This is why so many people feel punished by their own bodies, even when they desperately want to lose belly fat, boost metabolism, and move towards sustainable fitness. Once you fall into this hormonal trap, traditional strategies backfire. Cutting calories triggers more hunger, more cravings, and more emotional stress. Exercising harder often leads to burnout instead of results. And trying to rely on willpower alone becomes mentally exhausting. The good news, and the entire point of this journey, is that once you fix the root cause, the results begin to flow naturally. You stop fighting your body and start working with it, allowing slimming and weight loss to happen with a sense of ease that feels almost unreal. But let me be honest, reaching this level of clarity didn't happen because of a magical supplement, a miracle detox, or a quick hack. It began when I finally understood how insulin resistance was controlling every aspect of my metabolism, influencing my mental health, dictating my appetite, and shaping my overall well-being. I learned that when insulin remains elevated for long periods, your body becomes almost incapable of tapping into stored fat, which explains why losing abdominal fat feels impossible even when you're doing everything right. And understanding this was the moment I stopped chasing short-term fixes and decided to rebuild my entire internal environment. I began to restructure the way I ate, the timing of my meals, how I moved, how I slept, and even how I handled emotional pressure. Each adjustment, even the small ones, became a lever that slowly restored sensitivity to insulin and revived my metabolic flexibility. The deeper I went into this transformation, the clearer it became that weight loss isn't just about cutting things out. It's about giving your body what it has needed all along. When I started incorporating foods that supported energy rather than draining it, when I added movement that helped my muscles absorb glucose efficiently instead of relying solely on intense workouts, when I allowed my digestive system to rest between meals instead of constantly snacking, something powerful happened. My cravings diminished, my mood stabilized, my mental focus sharpened. And the biggest shift of all, the weight around my abdomen finally began to disappear. It wasn't fast like the promises you see online, but it was consistent, predictable, and sustainable. And that consistency taught me a lesson I repeat all the time now. Your body wants to lose weight healthily, but it can only do it once the internal signals are corrected. By the time I reached the middle of this process, I had already started noticing surprising benefits. Not just the visible slimming or the measurable fat burning, but the mental freedom that came from not feeling controlled by hunger or cravings. I realized that hunger had become a message from my metabolism, not an enemy. And once insulin calmed down, that message became clear and easy to understand. I wasn't battling my appetite anymore. It became aligned with my goals. My energy throughout the day felt stable, almost calm, as if my body was finally confident in what it was supposed to do. I was no longer trapped in cycles of overeating followed by guilt or restriction. Instead, each day felt more grounded, more controlled, and more predictable. And as I dug even deeper into the practices that supported this transformation, the connection between metabolic health and mental health became impossible to ignore. When your metabolism is unstable, your emotions often follow. You become irritable, anxious, foggy, and unmotivated, not because of who you are, but because your brain is starving for proper energy signaling. Fixing insulin resistance was like switching the lights back on in my mind. Everything became clearer. Tasks felt easier. Life felt lighter. And with each improvement, I became more certain that achieving real weight loss and eliminating abdominal fat is not just a physical journey. It's an emotional and psychological one too. This was the foundation that led me toward the 12 steps you'll discover in this video. Steps that restored my metabolic balance, reignited fat burning, and taught my body how to lose weight fast without stress, without extreme dieting, and without the constant fear of failing again. These steps don't require perfection. They're designed to work even when life gets messy. And as you move through them, you'll begin to understand how each one contributes to a healthier rhythm in your body. A rhythm where slimming happens naturally, where fitness feels more achievable, and where your energy finally matches the life you want to live. Once you begin to reconnect with your body in this way, weight loss stops feeling like a battle and begins to feel like healing. As I moved further into this process and started applying the principles that truly allowed me to eliminate abdominal fat and restore my metabolic flexibility, I realized that the most powerful breakthroughs were not the dramatic changes, but the subtle shifts that compounded over time. Many people believe that to lose weight fast or see any kind of meaningful slimming, they must shock the body with extreme diets or punishing exercise routines. But what I discovered was the opposite. The body responds far better to consistent, predictable signals than to extremes that trigger stress. When your body feels safe, balanced, and supported, fat burning becomes a natural response instead of forced one. And that understanding changed the entire landscape of my transformation. It taught me that the real secret behind any effective fitness or weight loss strategy is not restriction, but regulation. Not punishment, but alignment. And once that clicked, everything became simpler, more intuitive, and more sustainable. Suddenly, I wasn't thinking about food every hour. I wasn't battling cravings at random times. My energy stopped crashing in the afternoons. And what surprised me most was how effortlessly I began to lose belly fat, simply because insulin levels finally had room to drop. This one shift taught me that some of the most popular weight loss tips circulating online are actually traps that prevent the very progress they promise. Another critical moment came when I learned how profoundly specific foods could influence my ability to boost metabolism and lose weight healthily. It wasn't just about avoiding sugar or cutting calories. It was about understanding how different nutrients interact with hormones. Protein, for example, became one of my most valuable tools. Not because it helps you feel full, which it does, but because it directly improves insulin signaling and supports muscle tissue, making fat burning more efficient. Healthy fats played a similar role by stabilizing energy and preventing the blood sugar roller coaster that pushes people toward emotional eating. These foods made my meals more satisfying and reduced the mental load that comes from constantly trying to resist temptation. The more I structure my meals around these principles, the more my metabolism responded with steady, predictable fat loss. During this period, I also learned the importance of movement as a metabolic enhancer rather than a punishment for eating. For years, fitness felt like an overwhelming task that required hours at the gym, but once I understood that my muscles act as reservoirs for glucose, everything shifted. Walking after meals became one of the easiest and most effective strategies I ever adopted. Not a long, intense workout, just a moderate walk that signaled my muscles to pull glucose from the bloodstream and use it for energy. This simple routine drastically reduced the post-meal sluggishness that used to hit me daily and significantly supported my progression towards slimming and eliminating abdominal fat. Strength training, even in small doses, amplified these benefits. It wasn't about lifting heavy. It was about building active tissue that naturally increases fat-burning potential around the clock. What truly surprised me, though, was how much mental health was connected to metabolic health. I used to assume that stress and mood were separate from weight loss or fitness progress, but that couldn't be further from a truth. High stress levels push cortisol up, and elevated cortisol directly interferes with insulin sensitivity, feeding the exact cycle that keeps people stuck. When I started applying mental health resources, whether it was simple breathing exercises, journaling, or adjusting my nighttime routine, my appetite stabilized, my cravings weakened, and I felt more in control of my habits. Sleep, in particular, became a pillar of my transformation. Before this journey, I underestimated how much poor sleep contributed to my inability to lose weight fast. But once I began protecting my sleep window, avoiding screens late at night, and allowing my body to recharge, my progress in fat burning accelerated more rapidly than I ever expected. Another powerful shift happened when I stopped eating late in the evening. Closing the kitchen after dinner gave my body a clear period of metabolic rest rather than forcing it to digest food while I slept. The difference the next morning was immediate. Less bloating, clearer focus, and a noticeable drop in morning hunger that used to drive me toward unhealthy breakfast choices. This habit alone helped me eliminate abdominal fat over time because it aligned perfectly with my body's natural circadian rhythm. Energy felt smoother throughout the day, and I felt lighter and more aligned with my goals. It was as if my body finally understood when it was supposed to store energy and when it was supposed to burn it. Reducing alcohol and cutting out sugary drinks created another massive shift. I never realized how much hidden sugar I consumed through beverages until I eliminated them completely. Soda, sweetened coffee drinks, flavored waters, they all contributed to massive insulin spikes without offering any nutritional value. When I replaced them with water, herbal teas, and unsweetened coffee, the clarity in my body and mind was profound. Throughout this process, tracking my progress became a form of accountability that kept me grounded and motivated. I stopped obsessing over the scale and instead paid attention to indicators that truly reflected metabolic improvements, waist measurements, daily energy levels, post-meal sensations, and the overall stability of my hunger cues. Celebrating small wins helped me stay committed without falling into the perfection trap that so many people face when trying to lose weight healthily. Consistency became my greatest ally. I realized that a single bad meal or a difficult day didn't undo my progress. Only giving up did. And the more I embraced that mindset, the more I built resilience that carried me through each new phase of slimming and fat burning. Improving my gut health was another unexpected cornerstone. I began introducing more plants, more natural fiber sources, and a variety of foods that nourished my microbiome. When my digestion improved, everything else improved. Bloating diminished, cravings dropped, and my energy became more balanced. I learned that a healthy gut communicates with the brain in ways that directly influence appetite and mood, making it far easier to stay committed to healthy meal plans or structured routines without feeling deprived. This connection between gut health and weight loss tips is rarely explained clearly, but once you feel it happen in your own body, the difference is undeniable. All these experiences, observations, and improvements gradually unfolded into a deeper truth. Reversing insulin resistance wasn't just about eliminating a condition. It was about unlocking a version of myself that had been buried underneath hormonal chaos for years. Each habit, each shift, each realization played a role in restoring my ability to burn fat, boost metabolism, and finally achieve the kind of weight loss that felt natural and sustainable instead of forced or temporary. And as I continued forward, these steps formed the foundation of the transformation that would completely reshape not just my body, but my entire relationship with food, energy, and well-being. As I moved into the final phase of my transformation, something unexpected happened. The journey stopped being only about reversing insulin resistance and became a deeper process of reclaiming my identity, my confidence, and my long-lost sense of control. It felt as if each new habit wasn't just helping me lose belly fat or boost metabolism. It was rewiring my mindset to believe I was capable of far more than I had allowed myself to imagine. And that shift changed everything. I realized that real weight loss and long-term slimming had less to do with restriction and more to do with alignment, aligning my daily choices with the future I wanted to build. That's when discipline stopped feeling like punishment and started feeling like liberation. When your mind stabilizes, your cravings shrink, your energy returns, and your decisions no longer revolve around food, something powerful awakens inside you. You begin to understand that lose weight fast is not about rushing. It's about removing the barriers that kept you stuck. And once those barriers fall, progress accelerates naturally. One of the biggest breakthroughs came when I began planning my days with intention instead of reacting to them. I created simple, practical, healthy meal plans that matched my schedule and eliminated last-minute choices that used to lead me straight into processed foods. I kept my meals rich in nutrients, high in protein, filled with vegetables, and tailored to support steady blood sugar. I realized that my environment influenced at least half of my decisions. If healthy food was easy and accessible, I made better choices. If junk food was around, I eventually gave in. That's why I stopped relying on willpower and instead redesigned the spaces around me. The more I focused on structure, the more effortless fat burning became, and the easier it was to maintain momentum. I didn't need perfection, I just needed systems that supported consistency. And these systems created predictable results, steady energy, improved mood, and visible reduction in abdominal fat week after week. Another step that shaped the final stage of my recovery was the decision to take my emotional health just as seriously as my physical health. These practices gave me clarity, helping me break the mental cycles that were sabotaging my progress. I started sleeping deeper, waking up lighter, and feeling more capable of handling challenges without turning to food for comfort. This emotional shift became the foundation that sustained everything else: my nutrition, my training, my discipline, and my renewed sense of purpose. With my mindset stronger, I was finally able to push my body further without feeling exhausted or overwhelmed. I incorporated smarter fitness routines, nothing extreme or stressful to the joints, but strategic movements that targeted the areas most affected by insulin resistance. Strength training became my main tool, not to build huge muscles, but to support glucose control and enhance fat burning all day long. I added slow, intentional walks after meals, mobility work in the morning, and high-quality rest on recovery days. It was a balanced rhythm that my body responded to almost immediately. My metabolism warmed up, digestion improved, and I began to lose weight healthily without feeling deprived or drained. Every workout felt like an investment in the future version of myself, and the results showed in the mirror, in my posture, and in the newfound confidence of simply moving without discomfort. One of the final lessons I learned was the importance of mastering my internal dialogue. In the past, I constantly labeled myself as someone who could never stay consistent, someone who always lost motivation, someone who wasn't strong enough to make changes that lasted. But as I went through the process of eliminating insulin resistance, these beliefs slowly disappeared. I replaced them with a different narrative, a narrative of capability, growth, and personal power. Telling myself a new story helped me take new actions, and those actions generated new results. I started seeing challenges as opportunities to reinforce who I was becoming rather than confirmations of who I used to be. This mental shift gave me the strength to remain focused even on days when everything felt difficult. It taught me that weight loss tips and strategies mean nothing if your mindset isn't aligned with your goals. Looking back, the last step in my transformation was understanding that health is not a destination, but a continuous practice. Eliminating insulin resistance wasn't the finish line, it was the doorway to an entirely new way of living. And the habits I've built along the way became part of my identity. Because once you feel the difference, once you feel lighter, clearer, stronger, and free, it becomes almost impossible to go back to your old patterns. You begin to protect your progress with a level of commitment that feels natural rather than forced. You no longer chase the promise to lose belly fat quickly. Instead, you maintain a lifestyle that keeps belly fat from returning in the first place. You no longer fight cravings because your body is aligned. You no longer struggle with motivation because your results become your fuel. Today, life feels completely different. I wake up with stable energy instead of morning crashes. I think clearly instead of dealing with brain fog. I feel confident in my body instead of hiding behind oversized clothing. And most importantly, I feel in control, something I hadn't felt in years. Reversing insulin resistance didn't just help me lose weight fast, it helped me rebuild my entire relationship with food, movement, and myself. There's a natural solution to speed up your metabolism, control cravings, and support your weight loss journey naturally and effectively. Click the link in the first pinned comment to start transforming your body. If you want to truly transform your body and learn how to lose belly fat healthily, don't stop here. In the next video, I'll share practical strategies and little-known secrets to boost your metabolism and keep the weight off for good. Click now and discover how to take your weight loss to the next level